morning, I'm Lisa Kanicki, President of the Ocean Community Chamber of Commerce.
And I'm Susie Flores, and I am driving the boat.
She's from Stonington Kelp, and this is Business Over Breakfast.
Get out of bed, the business is calling, the coffee is ready. Wake up with the best, so wake up with the best. Business over breakfast with the Ocean Community. Business over breakfast with the Ocean Community.
Here we are in the mighty Pawcatuck River. This is a wild and scenic river. And we are heading down towards the Little Narragansett Bay, and then after that will be right where the Long Island Sound meets the Atlantic Ocean, and that is where our 10-acre seaweed farm lease is located. It is a farm that is based in Connecticut state waters, but we're really right on the border of New York and Rhode Island, which is very interesting because the whole farm gets all of its nutrition and nourishment from the water column and the sunlight, and that water column is coming from New York or from Rhode Island, depending on the direction of the current. So I really have to pay attention to what my neighbors are doing in the water and be very involved in how everybody, not just my Connecticut neighbors, is impacting the water quality in the sound and in the adjacent areas. And we grow food-grade sugar kelp and sell primarily to restaurants in the local area. We live in such an amazing foodie zone. I have so many fantastic chefs that I work with that have been nominated for James Beard's, won James Beard Awards. It's insane. So we're very, very lucky, and it allows our farm to have an opportunity to see our harvest turned into these insane culinary treats and cocktails, and we have a guy who makes a local Connecticut-based sugar kelp shoyu soy sauce with it, which is one of my favorite things to consume. Hot sauces, gins, people use it in beers. So we are just in this kind of creative bubble that has allowed the farm to have an opportunity to grow just a little bit more every year, and pun intended, because we are growing seaweed. It is a seasonal operation. We are only out in the ocean for about 6 months, and it's all over winter. So I'm on the water when everybody else is staying at home enjoying a hot cup of tea. But I like it because when I get really cold, I think my body thinks that I went to the gym, so I get to skip workout days.
Are you out here by yourself most of the time that you're doing this?
So I really try hard not to be out here by myself. It's a small family farm. It's my husband and myself. I mentioned before that my son was helping me harvest last week. My daughter has her boating license, and she'll come out and help me as well. It's not a good idea to be doing this sort of work by myself. So I make every effort to always have another person on the boat with me. However, I'd say every season, once or twice, I do find myself in a situation where I have orders that I have to fulfill. It's an emerging market. I really try my best to not let anybody down while taking into consideration all of the safety precautions. And so when I see a nice weather window, like what I saw this morning, I'll take that opportunity with an understanding of I know how to read the water, I know how to read the wind, I keep my radio in check, and I will only do it if my husband Jay is also out on the water doing work, that we can do check-ins with each other.
Sure.
Always wear my life preserver and just have to respect the ocean. If I get out there and I think this isn't right, this isn't, the current's shifting or the wind isn't doing what I expected it to do based on the prediction software that we use, then I'll just turn around and go home and I'll tell the chefs I'm sorry, but I'm not going to get hypothermia for kelp.
Yeah, got it.
And honestly, I think it's part of the story, right? Like, we're harvesting something from the ocean. It is, it's like fishing. You have to respect the conditions, and you kind of have to get what you get, and you don't get upset because we aren't the boss in this situation. We are, we're lucky that we're even able to do this. So, yeah, and I loved it. If my mom heard me say that I went out by myself, she'd be so mad.
Oh boy, maybe we'll edit that part out.
Yeah.
So when we had such an intense winter, the weather was insane.
Yeah.
Unlike any we've had for many years. How does that affect your production and your ability to get out here and do what you need to do, or does it?
The seaweed is very happy to grow in those intense situations, but it won't necessarily stay where we planted it.
Got it.
So you're struggling with making sure that the seaweed itself, the currents aren't ripping it off of the lines that it grows on in our farm system. Also, if there's debris that's getting shuffled in and out of the sign because of strong storms, down trees, things like that, that can get tangled up in the farm system. And finally, like, you're worried a little bit about gear. So if your anchors or a line snaps or something like that. So the winters can be really damaging. Our farm is set out far enough in the ocean that we don't have to worry about freezing. However, this cold snap we had this winter, the entire Pawcatuck River froze for like a solid 2 months.
Yeah.
So my husband had the foresight to reach out to someone who had a slip that was open closer to where our farm is located in Stonington Harbor, and we kind of overwintered the boat out there. But even in that area, we were breaking ice, and had to come out with like a sledgehammer and knock the ice off of the back of the motor. So the winter, that can really affect it. And I don't know if you've read, but Long Island Sound has kind of a state of emergency for a lot of the oyster farmers in the area and seaweed farmers, because so many people suffered such devastating losses during the course of the storms. Yeah, so those storms are really not my favorite.
Yeah.
But the seaweed itself is perfectly fine.
That's good.
It just isn't necessarily on my farm anymore. And so that's okay in the like big picture, because sugar kelp, all brown algae, it absorbs nitrogen and carbon from the water. So I grow it because it's a great food source. It's an opportunity for me to grow something that I can sell for food. It's really fun to be on the water. It's interesting. It gives me the kind of life that I love. But also the seaweed itself every year is doing a service to the local waterway. Sure. So even if the entire farm failed, or during COVID, for instance, when all my restaurants shut down and I had nowhere to offload my crops, the seaweed itself still did a huge service to the ocean, performing what it does naturally in the wild, which is absorbing a lot of the dense nutrients that are out there. And that excess nitrogen that it sucks up can really improve the dissolved oxygen levels in the water. It creates habitat for fishes. It has kind of a mutualist relationship with a lot of different shellfish species. So you'll find a lot of mussel farmers or oyster farmers wanting to have sugar kelp specifically grown around their farms, because it helps strengthen the shells and keep the meat of the bivalves.
Interesting.
Yeah, it really does a lot. Like it's a hot topic in the marine sciences world, because of the fact that it does so much good for the water. And so here I am just trying to sell it to get people to buy it, so that there's a reason to actually grow it. So that's what we're working on. That's what I spend most of my time doing, is saying, hey, do you know what kelp is? Do you want to eat it and serve it to people at your restaurants?
The education component.
It's non
for sure.
Yeah. But I'm here for it.
I love it. And tell the folks who aren't aware, how'd you get into this?
So my husband Jay and I, we moved up to the ocean community, the Ocean State Chamber of Commerce region. We moved up to this area in 2014-15, and we bought the marina where we keep this boat, where my husband and I actually live and maintain. And when we were like, okay, we have this awesome place on the water that we're going to be fixing up and renting slips out to people in the area, what else can we do given that we have this access? And so my background was in environmental science, and I worked at a corporate job in market development. So kind of those two things helped prepare me to go into an industry that is both very science heavy and has, needs a lot of market development. It needs a lot of education. It needs a lot of just awareness. So we just kind of found it. I think I found an article from a UConn professor, and I was like, this sounds really cool. I wonder if we could do this. And Jay was like, if it keeps me on the water and on a boat, then yes, let's try it. And that was kind of how we got started. And we have the marina definitely helps offset some of the costs of maintaining the boat, the insurance, all of those sorts of things. And then my husband also owns a mooring business where he services a bunch of moorings in the community, Greenhaven Mooring Services. And so he will set my gear for me out in the farm, and so I don't have to absorb that cost. Although I'm sure he wishes that he could bill me.
Nice try.
Yeah.
It really is a family affair. And,
Oh, yeah.
And a love of the water.
It's every business that we have is like hinges on the water quality and the pleasure that people derive and the access that people have to this amazing region. It hinges on all of that kind of staying as it is. So just keeping it clean, making sure that there's not a bunch of pollutants, that people are aware of like what we have here. Like this river is wild and scenic, which is an insanely special designation. And I mean, you see so many different species of birds. Like I'm from New Jersey, like I'm from the part of Jersey people make fun of. So I get so excited when I see ospreys, when I see eagles.
You see seals, I'm sure.
See seals all the time. We see seals all the way up the river at the marina.
Awesome.
You know, there's a ton of fish in this river. People fish for like snapper blues. You'll see mackerel sometimes, bunker. It's really a very special place, and it's uniquely accessible, I think. And so, you know, that kind of lent itself to us trying to think through opportunities to support our family that like allow us to, you know, take advantage of that, I guess. One of the other things that we're starting to do is offer tours. We have an Airbnb that we rent out, and people are constantly asking us, like, how can I get on the water off season? And so we're going to see if we can start to fill that gap as well, because I want to make sure that everybody who comes here can get the full experience.
So that's a new thing.
Yeah.
And I understand you just submitted some events to our calendar.
Yes, yeah.
So tell us, what's coming up?
Okay, so in the spirit of trying to get people to become aware of the seaweed industry, the fact that this is a super sustainable, very healthy food that is cultivated like right off of the shores of our community, we want to try to get it on as many menus as possible during the harvest season, which is April, May. It's all dependent on the weather, but usually the whole farm's out of the water by the beginning of June. So we like to call it Kelp Fest. And during Kelp Fest, we just try to lean into as many different ways to engage with the public. So we have a kickoff event that's going to be on Sunday, April 26th. It's a free, family-friendly event where we're going to be offering people an opportunity to try samples of really delicious food that's been cooked by chefs who've been working with seaweed for many, many years, so that they can get a taste of, you know, of the kelp. And they don't have to, there's no risk involved. You can try it, you can love it,
Sure.
You can try it, you can say maybe not for me. We're going to have the seed that we use to outplant on our seaweed farms. We're going to have a tour of that kind of mobile seed lab, so people can come and kind of get a sense of what the actual farm structure looks like and how we plant the individual kelp blades onto our farm. And we're going to do some, you know, fun art stuff, seaweed pressings, things like that. And there will be a bunch of vendors selling kind of ocean-related and seaweed products. So this is going to include not just my farm, but a couple other farms in the region. And it really is an opportunity too for us farmers to get together and hang out and complain about
Collaborate.
seaweed stuff.
Yeah,
we
sure,
collaborate.
Sure. So if people want more information, they can go to oceanchamber.org, because all those events will be listed there, right?
Yes.
Or what
and
is
we
your,
kind of go through over the course of the season, and the Kelp Fest, that I'd say definitely start there. But there's also going to be cooking classes that are available, so people can get an opportunity to learn how to cook at home with seaweed. There's going to be some
that's going to be popular.
yes, cocktail classes, and a lot of
That's
this
going to be
is
more popular.
yeah, 100%. A lot of this is funded through various different grants through the state of Connecticut that we've worked with to try to bring it to the people, to try to make it very accessible. I mentioned a lot of the restaurants that we work with tend to be higher end farm to table restaurants, which is absolutely fantastic, and their food is delicious. But sometimes it's not as easy for, you know, a family of four to go out and bring their children to a restaurant that's of that caliber. So we are trying to see what we can do to try and work it into a little bit more of everybody's, make it within everybody's reach. So that's the whole point of having these very family friendly and accessible events. And for people who are really interested in the science and kind of like the marine history around seaweed farming, we're also going to be working with a professor out of Yukon who's going to be giving a lecture just kind of about the maritime history of the region and talking about why this particular harbor is so incredibly well suited for aquaculture and things of that nature. And all of the events, like I said, are going to be listed at the Chamber website and the Chamber calendar.
Yep, oceanchamber.org. And hey, before you know it, we'll have it on the cafeteria menu at your local school.
Well, funny you should say that. Last year we did feature seaweed during harvest, and we did taste tests and recipe development. And some of the recipes that are going to be served for free to the public on Sunday the 26th will be the ones that won out that sort of restaurant challenge.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's a good time.
Yeah, that's incredible. Now, when you go out and harvest, Susie, what is a typical haul for you? Is it you're measuring by the pound, like how many pounds you collected that day? Or?
Yeah, so we harvest into fish baskets, and so my brain kind of works as, like one basket, like one bushel. But typically it does get weighed by the pound, and that's kind of how we make sure that if a chef, for instance, is using a certain amount for a recipe that they developed, they'll have what they need to serve X amount of seats at their restaurant. So it typically is by the pound. There's some nuances that go into that. For instance, some times of years, look at that swan.
That swan's beautiful.
They're so funny. They're the most ungraceful birds when they're taking off. Is that an osprey or an eagle? That might be an eagle. And then we got the cormorants, who are so smelly. If you get too close to the rocks that
It's
they like
a
to perch
nature
on.
tour.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really like the
It
birds
really
you
does
see.
make you feel in touch with your
Yes.
environment when you're out here. It's peaceful.
I
and
joke
beautiful.
around like this is the best commute. It takes me about 40 minutes if everything's cooperating, wind and current wise, to get out to the farm from the docks. And a lot of that's no wake zone, but it's just like I feel my blood pressure going down when we're on the way out. It really is lovely. Yeah, but this is where the eagles like to hang out. There's a really lovely couple, and I think that they have like a kid now, because I saw two big ones over in not the tree that fell down, but there's another tree nearby, and then one that was a bit smaller. And over the winter when the river was frozen, there was a juvenile bald eagle that was eating dead animals that got trapped in the ice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that was very interesting to see.
Yeah, yeah.
I was glad the kids didn't get the binoculars.
Survival of the
yeah,
fittest.
it was a little graphic.
It's home sweet home on the Pawcatuck River.
On the mighty Pawcatuck.
Beautiful views. Very fortunate to live in this area. Very fortunate.
Yeah, I love the idea of the tours, because the farm. So we also have. We are working towards having another lease site that's closer to shore.
Oh.
And this would be something that would be like very specific for educational purposes. Because when people get out on the water and they don't even need to see the farm as much as like you just have an appreciation from this vantage point. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody leaves with a little bit, everybody leaves with a little bit more maybe respect, or it reignites the respect that they have towards Mother Nature, reminds them that we're kind of all a part of this really incredible system. And I just think that that's the best. And I found that like with chefs, the easiest way to get them to become lifelong customers for seaweed
Bring them out.
is to take them out to the farm. Like they're totally hooked. It's like you can watch like the stress melt away.
But there's also this sort of personal connection
Yes.
that they now know from its original origin to the plate that they're putting in front of their customer of how that came about and how that nutritious food was developed so naturally.
Exactly. And it's like I joke around, like we have a farm, so we're growing something technically, but it grows really in spite of me. We put that seed stock out. I don't do anything to it. It doesn't need any fresh water. It doesn't need any arable land. It doesn't need any fertilizer. What exists out in the ocean is what it gets. So, the seasons, the changes in water quality, the changes in the sunlight, that all affects my farm, but I can't control any of that.
Yeah.
So it really is it's doing its own thing. I have very little to do with it other than just making sure all of the gear stays in place. I try to, it's getting the nutrients from the water column. It does need that sunlight. We have such clear water here. It is just absolutely bananas. In the winter, you can see down at our farm site, usually about 20 feet, which is crazy from the top of the boat. Keeping the lines kind of closer to the surface is really the only way you can manipulate the farm. But it is really like a very special place, and it really lends itself to kind of this type of sustainable farming. So I just want people to eat it. I just want people to be willing to try it. And I think that the tours is another way to kind of branch out the education. This part of the river, you can hear the planes take off.
Yeah.
And I'm always
it echoes over the water.
But this is where you get a lot of really great birds.
Yeah. That is huge.
I know. So this is like, you usually get the seals sunning on the rocks out here. Do you ever see them? They'll like hang out on these outcroppings.
I know Save the Bay does seal tours.
So very infrequently. I was trying to recommend it to
someone
some
went
folks.
a couple weeks ago and said it was great.
Yeah. Did they go up in Narragansett though? Probably wasn't out of here.
I didn't ask them where they went.
They run them in Narragansett much more often. You can consistently see seals in this area certain times of year, but there are not boats that go out in March or April in Mystic or in this area, which is why in my dream scenario I would have a boat that is a little bit better suited for touring, so that we could take people who maybe need a seat, and we could have the elements kind of blocked out a little bit more, but kind of take them on a cruise so that they can appreciate the harbor. Go by the farm. If we wind up getting our mussel socks in the water, we can pull those up and everybody can have a look at them. There's a bunch of oyster farms around this area too that you can kind of just cruise by and learn a little bit, and just like the whole Napa Tree Point, Sandy Point, the story of the hurricane of 1938. There's a lot of really cool stuff.
So years ago, the chamber owned a boat. You didn't know this?
No, I did not. But
it was an amphibious boat.
Oh my goodness!
And its name was Annie-phibious. And we ran tours that started at the chamber, drove through historic downtown, pointed out all the points of interest, talked about the history, the architecture, everything that's really amazing about our town. And then it entered the water at on Margin Street at Westerly Marina. And then it would come out on the water, on the river. And we would let kids take the wheel, and we would talk about this historic World War II vehicle and what it was used for. And it was an amazing experience, just like the ones you see in Boston that are so popular. But we had one, and when you have one, whenever there's a maintenance issue, you're basically down a week or two dealing with that maintenance issue, because it's a 1943 vessel.
Yeah.
And that was an ongoing challenge for us in a season that is so short here in this community. And then that was punctuated by a greater challenge where in Hot Springs, Arkansas, maybe? I'm not sure if I got the town right. There was a sinking of a duck boat.
So
in 10 seconds, the boat went down and a bunch of people passed away.
I think I remember that.
On that, and it was while we owned our boat. So the insurance industry in general took a fresh look at duck boats, the next season the price went up something like 60 or 70%.
And you're like, this just doesn't make sense.
We couldn't
anymore.
do it. We couldn't do it anymore. We ended up selling the boat to a military person who had served and loved the vessel the way that we loved it, but he had a connection to it from his military standpoint. And all the work that we did to strip it down and make it a tour vehicle, he then reversed it all to try to make it look back in its original state. Yeah, and he lived in Connecticut and did his thing with it.
How long ago was that?
I'd have to look it up. We haven't owned the boat for at least...
I'm going to go a little faster, just heads up. It's going to be jarring for a quick second.
Yeah, at least 11 or 12 years we haven't owned it. Maybe longer. I think we ran it 3 seasons before we threw in the towel. People loved it.
Yeah,
Loved
like
it.
that sort of thing is so cool.
It was amazing. I mean, our board had real vision and backbone to be able to experiment with that. So we had the Coast Guard inspections just like you. We had the, I forgot what they call the test where they try to sink it to make sure that it's basically unsinkable. Yeah, they come and they put,
Those boats are just so cool too.
yeah, it was incredible.
It's wild too how like every year you just see the river changing with all the construction that goes on.
Yeah.
This was where the Eagle was escorting us in. It was so cool. Big tree. Thought that was a seal for a second. I saw a couple pups out earlier. They're so cute. A lot of the water rights, the water access rights that are built into New England laws, like the very, very, very old ones, are around people's demand, really, to be able to go and harvest seaweed for their gardens so that they could use it as fertilizer, because it's a natural source of nitrogen. You don't have to use any chemicals, but the cellular structure of the seaweed tissue, it retains water, so it means you don't have to water as much too, which is one of the
Wow. I learned something today.
yeah, it's so good for your garden. And as long as you're getting it from an area that is like clean enough to shellfish in. Ooh, getting blown off. This is,
Looks like lasagna.
yeah, exactly, sugar kelp. And what's so cool about it is depending on where you grow. So I can have the exact same seed for the seaweed farm as a fellow farmer who is maybe in a cove somewhere else in Connecticut. The shape of the kelp and the color of the kelp is going to change based on the water where it's grown. So
Let me get on this side of you so folks at home can really.
So when you have these wide ruffles, I'm trying to get it in the sunlight. When you have
Actually
these,
quite beautiful.
it
to
really,
look at.
it's really gorgeous when it's fresh.
Yeah.
So when you see it washed up on the beach, it's just like if you go to an apple orchard and there's a whole bunch of apples at the base of the tree. You're not bending over and picking those up to eat.
Right.
But when you're harvesting it fresh, it's totally different. And that's, I think, what the chefs get so excited about. It has a crunch to it. It actually, like when you chop it, like it makes a noise like you're chopping like romaine. But so these ruffles exist to push the water over the tissue of the seaweed so that it can continue to grow. So the more ruffly it is, that means that the seaweed had to adapt to kind of push more water over it. So this, to me, knowing my farm and what happened to it this year, this means that it sank a little bit lower in the water column and it wasn't getting as much sunlight. I'm trying to see if I have, because of the time of year, I don't harvest it all the way to the top. I harvest it, I almost like give it a haircut because the seaweed regenerates. So you notice like it's a chop there. It doesn't go all the way up to the top of the blade, and then there's a little stem that comes off. But I did.
So this is one haul from just today.
Yeah, this is, I try not to go out to harvest unless I'm doing at least like 50 or 60 pounds. Okay, here we go.
And that might be what, weekly? How often?
Yeah, so when it's harvest season, this time of year. Okay, so this is special. I don't always do this for everybody, but like I said, I got in that little pickle and I was like, you know what? It might be better if I just grab. This is This top tingly part, that's called the holdfast. The seaweed, it looks like roots. It functions like an anchor. It doesn't actually distribute any sort of nutrition to the plant. It just holds it in place. And this should be attached to this line on the farm. So that's what happened. So I ripped it off the line. Off of the holdfast grows a stipe. And these things are so outstanding when they're pickled. They're edible. They're delicious. So if I cut like from there down, nothing's going to grow back. But when I kind of chop it like that, the blade will continue to regenerate. And so I have a chef that I work with who likes to take the stipes and chop them up and use them like capers and sometimes in cocktails. So he was like, if you have some, I'll make a couple of jars of pickles.
Neat.
So.
And you are munching on seaweed
Yeah.
right now. There you go.
I love it.
For those who are wondering, yes,
It's very salient. So
partaking.
it's high in iron. It's high in a bunch of different. It's like the things that make eating fish healthy for you are because they eat seaweeds and algae in the sea. It's very high. Sugar kelp in particular is very, very high in iodine. So that is something that we, make sure people understand if maybe they have a sensitivity to it, or maybe they're deficient, and it's a great way to get it naturally.
Fantastic.
But, it's right out of the ocean, so for me, it's just really salty, and that's why my kids like it. They're like, it's just super salty. It's like a salty snack. When you blanch it, though, so when you put it in hot water, it goes from this kind of amber, olivey, brown color to bright green, like what you see in a seaweed salad.
Okay.
It's the chemicals that the color, basically chlorophyll is the only thing that doesn't melt away. So you have this like super, super bright green seaweed, and it becomes much more flavor-wise benign, but the chefs really love it because it has an umami flavor profile. It can enhance other things. The whole, the umami taste flavor was discovered because a guy was drinking a broth that his wife made that had kelp in it. And it's that kind of dashi.
All right, so this seaweed here,
Yeah,
it's going to end up on a plate in a restaurant.
Correct.
When?
probably very, very soon. So we're going to about 40 pounds is going to Mystic. 40 pounds is going down to Westport, Connecticut area. And then 5 pounds is going to go into the food that will be served on Sunday at the Kelp Fest at Yellow Farmhouse.
Nice.
10 pounds is going to the Velvet Mill.
That must be White Crest Eatery.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, so actually this one's going to Masa, the bakery.
Oh, okay.
She does a kelp croissant.
Oh, I haven't tried that.
Like,
They
who saw
have
that
amazing
coming?
food at both
Yeah.
those restaurants.
But White Crest, they're annual kelp purchasers, and then some is actually going to go to Stonington High School to their culinary arts teacher. She does a curriculum of seaweed every year.
Amazing.
It's hysterical. My daughter's taking the class, but she's like, "Do
She could
not
probably
come
teach
this
it.
year." She probably could, but she's just like, "Please don't visit. I don't think I can handle that." And then some of it will be available for sale for people who like to just take it home when we do the Kelp Fest, because I always like
Amazing.
to have a little extra on hand. And I mean, it's literally all spoken for, and then I'll get back out there the next time the wind is calm enough.
Do it all over again.
Yeah, and do it all over again. And again, like, we sustained a lot of damage this year on the farm. I'd say like half the farm probably, we've already been pulling gear out because we're like, well, we're not producing anything anymore. Which is great, but at the same time, I think that we'll still have enough to kind of satisfy all of our orders. And I am plugged in enough with the network of other farmers that if I come up short, I'll make sure that
Got it.
everybody's order gets filled.
This was fun. It was
Yeah.
educational.
Yeah, I'm sorry we couldn't get all the way out to the farm, but wind be winding
Yeah,
today.
no, it's okay. It was a great experience, and hopefully the people watching gained a new appreciation for the seaweed that ends up on the dinner menu.
Yeah, like, I mean, there's a
at
lot
their
that
favorite
goes into
restaurant,
it.
and give it a try.
Yeah.
And this coming weekend
This coming weekend
is your chance to really give it a try.
that is like the gateway to all things sugar kelp, because you will have an opportunity to try a whole different variety of things, to learn more about it if you're interested. There's going to be fun family stuff to do. You can even learn to cook with it. So we're going to have people
Yeah.
doing demos of blanching and making kelp compound butters and things like
Fantastic.
that. Yeah.
Well, we hope to see everyone there, and just want to thank you for your time today.
Always.
Thank you for tuning in to the Chamber's Business Over Breakfast. We're so thrilled to have Stonington Kelp as one of our members, and this is a great opportunity to learn a little bit more about what you do. And congratulations, you took a real niche industry,
Full send.
in this area, and you're in, girl.
I'm in it, and I love it. And I mean, as you know,
You're so passionate about it.
It gives me a lot of things to be joyful about, and so I am grateful for it. And it makes me very happy to know that in the process of feeding people, we're also doing something super great for the environment.
Absolutely, it's a
So
win
let's
across
go.
the board.
Full send.
All right, try your kelp from Stonington
Eat your
Kelp.
kelp.
Have a great day.